It's been a long, difficult road for Dr. John Bradford, the road back to becoming a confident professional again. The road back from what he calls the black hole he found himself falling into while driving along this highway just a few short years ago.
It was like a switch went off in my head. There was a point where I was really quite suicidal. I've said to myself, I'm going crazy, right?
It's here that Dr. Bradford did some of his most dangerous work, where they brought now notorious killers like Russell Williams.
There we go.
For hours, Williams sat right here while Dr. Bradford interviewed him long into the night.
So Russell Williams would have been...
Yeah, he would have been sitting there with his back towards this window.
Right.
Trying to figure out what made Williams tick, what turned him into a rapist, torturer, and murderer.
Russell Williams is a very nice guy who led a very good life until it went off the rails completely.
What Dr. Bradford didn't realize at the time was that Williams would take him off the rails too, although in truth it had started much earlier with another killer.
It really started with the videotapes with Bernardo. Paul Bernardo was the Scarborough rapist, and he escalated into sexually motivated homicide. I was retained by the Crown when they arrested Bernardo, and they knew that I have expertise in sexual sadism and sexually motivated homicide.
Hi, Tam.
But Bradford thought he was equipped, trained to deal with it. As a young professional in England, he had handled some of that country's more notorious serial murderers, like Ian Brady, Myra Hindley, or the Cray brothers.
I kind of loved it. I liked to go to court, worked with the top forensic people in the UK at that point, and kind of the rest is history.
Bradford watched on video as Bernardo and accomplice Karla Homolka murdered even Homolka's own sister.
But there was one particular scene that just kept on playing on my head and over again. And although at the time I didn't appreciate it, but it was not only the picture, the video, but it was the sound as well.
Wait, what are you drinking there?
The Bernardo images slowly faded away, but other cases came along. Among them, the pig farmer and accused serial killer Willie Pickton of British Columbia.
If you want to go digging, there's lots of people out there who tell you where they're buried. Go right ahead.
Willie Pickton is again completely different. I mean, Willie was a multimillionaire because of property inherited in Port Coquitlam, a very low functioning guy.
Pickton was convicted. Bradford's reputation continued to grow, the tough doc who could handle the big cases. Then came Colonel Russell Williams.
He wasn't a psychopathic individual who suddenly at 45, 48 years of age started to kill women. There were some really, again, significant events that had an impact. He's got a pretty normal life. I mean, he was under scrutiny in the military, he did very well. Then something happened in his life which has never been in the public domain, and I'm not at liberty to talk about it, and that made a change.
Why do you think these things happen?
Like the police, Bradford spent days interviewing and evaluating Williams.
Have you spent much time thinking about that?
About why?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know the answers. And I'm pretty sure the answers don't matter.
Bradford would try to find the answers.
I had 30 days to do it. I had to work extremely hard to get it all done because you have to work at night because you've got to keep it out of the public domain. So I'd work a whole day and then come in at 7 o'clock at night and work till midnight, 1 a.m. in the morning.
But it wasn't the interviews that would do him in. It was later, at the OPP detachment in Orillia, watching for hours as Williams raped and murdered on high-definition video.
So when you're watching these things, you know what's going to happen.
Well, that's the sad part about it. You see, that to me was the hardest thing about these videos, because you know what the end result is, right? But you're looking at these videos as they're unfolding, you're hearing what the person's saying, you're seeing the interaction, and you know what the end result is. So every word, every emotional response just eat me, you know, it was just eating me up.
Moments after he left for the long drive home, he broke.
It was like a switch went off in my head, and I just broke down. I sort of emotionally were crying. I couldn't, sobbing. I'm not in a, you know, I don't cry much. You know, guys don't cry much, and I cry, well, get tears occasionally, but this was like sobbing.
Out of control.
Out of control. I suddenly felt this sort of, it was bizarre, like my life was a failure, and I, you know, and I said to myself, I'm going crazy, right? I mean, you know, first of all, you know, I mean, I was fine this morning, and now here this afternoon, this is my life's all turned around. What's happened?
Interestingly, in his career, Bradford had never really bought into the clinical diagnosis of post-traumatic stress. Instead, he tried to drive through it, assessing what was happening to him as some sort of weakness on his part.
I thought I was this tough guy, and you know, I've done this, and you know, this should go away. You know,
I'm the professional here.
Correct. Yeah. Anyway, so then what happened was it sort of faded a little bit, but it was still there. So I kept on sort of optimistically looking forward. Well, it's just going to get better, and you know, whatever I'm doing is going to work, and be patient.
It didn't work. He started drinking more than he should, became irritable, refused medication, thought of killing himself.
There was a point where I was really quite suicidal. As a physician and as a psychiatrist, I knew I could do it, and there would be no mistake on it, right?
And all the time, those videos kept playing in his head. Finally, one day in court, giving evidence during a tough cross-examination, he almost lost control.
But what happened was I started to become angry, right? Mm-hmm. And I started saying in my mind, you're an effing arsehole and stuff like this. And then I'm in court, and it got to a point I nearly blurted that out. It was so close. And I had to just catch myself, because that would have been professionally a disaster, right? I mean, you know, then I knew I had a problem. So as soon as I got out of there, I went and, you know, and got a hold of help, the Ontario Medical Association Physician Help Program.
A good doctor, a friend, and the right medication saved him. He knows that now, just like he knows post-traumatic stress is very real. That's why he's talking about it.
I'm not a skeptic anymore. I think once you live it and you realize how you lose control, and I really, this was stuff I couldn't control, right? So that was another thing which I think was also helpful for me to say, look, I was a skeptic, and I think it was healthy. However, I can tell you,
it's real.
It's real.
He's on medication now, and after months of therapy, feeling much better. But recently he was approached about handling this country's next big case, that of Luka Magnotta, accused in a gruesome murder and decapitation, all apparently videotaped. Bradford initially considered it, but he has decided to pass.
I'm getting old now, so I don't need to do this stuff anymore, and I think for now I'll probably, you know, avoid it.
Yeah, well, perhaps wisely.
Yeah, right.
Red Sharon, CBC News, Ottawa.